let's roll.
All right. Well, welcome back to Queens of the Paddock, an F1 podcast. My name is Alex.
And I'm Courtney.
And we're back again. We're a little bit behind, but we're back again to discuss the Australian Grand Prix. Because it was a good one.
It was. And sorry about that. I had a wedding and I was traveling
We've
the
been
world.
busy. Yeah.
Busy. So.
Yeah.
But now
Courtney had a very exciting week.
Gosh, I'm just glad to be home. So. I'm sure like
Oh
all
my
the drivers
goodness.
feel that way also. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just after traveling, you're like, I just want to lay in my own bed for once. So.
Oh, I know. I can't imagine like all that travel and then I mean, I don't know. I feel like I would kind of enjoy it, but at the same time, it would probably get really old really fast.
Yeah. So.
Like having
But
to jump around different time zones and stuff. No.
Mm-mm.
It's too much. It's too much.
I give them a lot
But
of
okay.
credit.
I know. For sure. Okay, so this race was absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it was in the middle of the night. And like
Yeah.
for a race that's in the middle of the night, I was just like it was like pure mayhem. Like literally.
It really was. And I stayed up watching it throughout the whole time, throughout all of the red flags. Like, I think I was up until like 4 in the morning.
I was
Legit.
I was at the bar at like 2:45 and it was like the middle of the race.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I
You
think
had
by
to
the
get
time it
pretty
was
late.
done, it was literally 4 in the morning or even later than that. But it was so good. I was like, I can't, like, I'm not going to go to sleep.
oh gosh no.
No,
So-
I need to know what happens.
I know.
So it was great. It was
All
really
right.
good.
So, recapping of the race. You want to
Yes.
Are we going to
So-
talk qualifying cuz I feel like we need to talk a little bit about qualifying.
We do. We do need to talk about that a little bit because there was, at least on the Ferrari end, like for me, for qualifying, what stuck out was in Q3, they thought it was going to start raining.
Mhm.
And so they didn't they obviously they went out and they did their fast laps, but they didn't do like a
Like a
power up
warm-up.
lap.
I
Yeah,
was
in
about to say, they
between.
didn't do a warm up really.
No, so they just like went out, did their fast laps, and they were not great. They weren't terrible, but they weren't great. And then they were like, okay, well, it's going to start raining, so like we just have to get it done, which I don't know cuz like I'm if it had started raining, they would have been great.
Yeah, but
But then
there's
it
no
didn't.
guarantee. Yeah, but there's no guarantee. That's like the whole thing with the rain is like they watch
Yeah.
all those radars, but like what was it? I think it was Japan last year, like where it started pouring, or it was either Japan or Monaco, one of the two, where it's like it was like all around them, and it wasn't until like later on did it
I think
just
that was
started
Monaco.
dumping. Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I think. Over the
Yeah.
mountains. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was crazy. And so, like, I mean, it's true. Like, you can't really predict it, so you don't really know what's going to happen.
Yep.
But it was kind of a meh.
I know. Well,
Yeah,
and then
for them.
I know. I felt bad, but I don't know. I feel like Ferrari's just like in a rebuilding, trying to figure out year.
They need to get it together.
They just can't seem to like string it all together all at once, you know.
Right.
But no, the other crazy thing to me was Checo.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Like what?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
never like out in what first round?
Yeah, in the first round. It was in
Yeah.
the first round. Like, beached himself into the gravel, couldn't get out, and then that just ruined it for him.
Yeah.
Which I think, you know, we'll get to it, but during the race, I mean, he really like came back from there and did everything he could. Which I think it was good. And then he even started from the pit lane too, because after he like was out in qualifying first and then he was going to start 20th on the grid. And I guess the team was like, look, like he's already starting 20th. Like, let's add some stuff, change some stuff to his setup, whatever it was. And so then that forced them to start from the pit lane, which he ended up 5th, I think.
Yeah. I was going to say
So he
sometimes I
managed great.
Yeah, but I think sometimes like starting from the pit, if you're going to start in the back, I think I would kind of rather start in the pit lane because at least you don't have all the chaos of starts, you know? Mm-hmm. So.
That's for sure. That is for sure. So just some highlights from this race before we really like jump into everything that was going on. We had 3 red flags, which is the most of any race in F1 history.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there's never been more than 2. And so this one had 3.
Wow.
Crazy. I know. It was crazy. And then there was 8 DNFs, which we'll get to.
Wait, what was the race? What was the race last year that there was like 1 million DNFs?
Oh my God, I don't remember. I can't remember off the top of my head.
It will come to me later, but
okay.
Like it reminded me of that last year, where it was like, because I remember we were like, I think at the end there was only like 11 cars standing.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And then it like at the end of races like that, you're like, okay, if you didn't get points during this race, like you had a really bad day. Which we'll get to that, because there were some people that still did not get points, and it was very disappointing. But okay, so just absolute chaos. Like chaos. Okay, I want to say
I was gonna say before that, like when you talk about chaos, you know what it reminds me of? You know that commercial for the insurance company where he's always like talking about mayhem and he's being struck by lightning?
Is it the Geico guy? Is it Geico? No. It's not Geico. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. The guy, and he has like a Band-Aid over his eye, and he's like a hot mess, and it's like, I'm your teenage neighbor, and I'm gonna back into your car, and like whatever. No, but it was literally that. It was so insane. It was like every time something happened, it was just crazy. So what it reminded me of was, you're not into The Bachelor, are you? Have you ever like watched The Bachelor? Okay. Nope. So I used to be really into The Bachelor. I used to watch every season like religiously. I've kind of fallen off, like haven't been following it, but they always are like, before every season, they'll do this whole like highlight reel of like what's to come, and it's like the most dramatic season of The Bachelor yet, and every season is the most dramatic season. This was the most dramatic race that I've ever seen. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Well, and it wasn't just crazy for like, you know, part of the race. It literally, from the beginning of the race to the very last lap, you're just like, what is going on?
Right. Oh, 100%. And like, even so, okay, like when we both watched the 30-minute race recap, even though we had watched the race, we were like, we need a refresher.
Which, by the way, if anyone has F1 TV and has never watched the 30-minute recaps, I highly recommend.
Yeah. Oh my God, they're great.
Yeah, especially after you watch the race, so much has gone on. It was really good to like, let me just hit those high points, you know?
Yeah, like let me get the highlight reels. Because I mean, you forget, like I was telling Courtney, I watched that and I totally forgot like major things that happened.
Yeah. Okay, but, so let's start at the beginning. Or do you want to go by team?
No, we can start at the beginning. So at the first start, we had Max on pole, and then it was the 2 Mercedes, Lewis and George. And, well, George and Lewis, right? So George started second, and then Lewis started third. And right at the beginning of the race, George jumped up, got in front of Max, and he, like, took off. Like,
he did. And he was
far ahead. Yeah. He was far ahead. Things were looking good, and then Lewis got in front of Max. So like within the first few corners or turns, Max was in third. Yeah. And I was like, yeah.
I'm not a Mercedes fan, but maybe I was the other day.
Yeah, well no, it's like for me, I'm like, okay, give me something different. Like this is exciting. And I like George. And I like Mercedes. I like Lewis too.
Yeah.
But, you know, anyway, so that was exciting. Well, then, within 30 seconds, our boy beached it into the gravel.
Okay,
And
and I don't even fully understand what happened. Did someone hit him, or
so
he went too wide almost, right?
he turned into Lance, which is like, if you're gonna turn into anybody, like, don't turn into Lance. It's like
Lance
not
is gonna
the best person to try to pull that move on, because Lance Stroll is literally like, I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take you out.
He's like
and-
a wild card. He just like
Yeah.
he's gonna bump you off. you know?
No, he's like, you know what? No, get out of my lane. Literally, like, this is my line. Like, don't come over here. And so he bumped him off. So basically, like, Charles was trying to pass him. And it was like a bad move from Charles's point. And like, I
It
am
was a
the
little
first person
too
to try to
aggressive.
defend him. Yes, it was too aggressive. And he came around the outside of him, but then Lance was right on the outside of Fernando. So he bumped him on, I think it was like his front right
Wheel?
tire.
Or yeah, something. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it just kind of pushed him backwards into the gravel. And right when he got into the gravel, Charles was like, no, it's done. It's
Yeah.
done. And he was out of that car within like 12 seconds. Like, he literally was like, I'm out, I'm done. Like, that was it.
But he knew
Lance
it
hit
because-
me.
Yeah, but the second you get into that stuff, you're stuck. Like you're
Right.
literally your whole car
Right.
sinks. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what
Like,
kinda
and if you
happened to
stop,
Checo.
yeah. If you stop and you lose momentum, like, you're just going to be literally spinning your tires, spinning your wheels, not being able to get out. So it was done. And it was within literally the first 20, 30 seconds of this race.
Yeah, not even like didn't even make it.
It was
through the
turn
first
3 on the first lap.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, there he goes. There he goes. Horrible weekend. Horrible, horrible.
So that was our first red flag, right?
No, so that was a safety car.
Safety car.
And then the first red flag was literally like lap 7 when Albon just threw it into a different gravel trap. And that was actually like a really scary crash, because whenever he did that, he crashed into the wall, and then the car kept on going and kind of was like halfway out on the track, but there was a big cloud of like dust from all the gravel.
Well, and
Like,
the
you
gravel
couldn't even
went
see his
flying.
car. Yes. Yeah. So I think it was Nico Hulkenberg, like, almost ran into the back of him
Yeah,
because his
but he,
car was like
parked-
halfway on the track. Yes. No, he got
you couldn't
so
see
lucky.
him. Yeah.
I know. He got so lucky that he didn't hit him. So that caused the first red flag. And then people were complaining that this got red flagged.
Yes, because
And I'm like, why? It needed to have been.
I think the thing was it was just gravel. It wasn't like car debris on the
Right.
track.
But
I
so-
think people were upset. Like Russell was pissed because he
Of
pitted
course.
under the safety car and took like a little bit of a penalty, not penalty, but like he lost time and places,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
'Cause
he
was
lost
up
tons of
in-
places.
He was up in first at the time, and he pitted, and then Max stayed out, I believe. And then he
Yeah.
was pissed because then it was a red flag, and then everyone started pitting.
Right.
So-
Well, everyone gets to change their tires under a red flag, and like you don't lose any spots. But so, okay, it was the gravel they had to pick up, but then they also ended up having to pull the crane out to get his car. And so to me, I'm like, anytime that there's a crane that needs to come out on the track, like, I think it should be red flagged, because I'd rather it be red flagged and see a restart and see like actual racing laps than like a bunch of cars under a safety car going like slow. To me, that I'm like, no, like, give me the red flag. Like, let's have the restart, even though it's madness and chaos.
And the drivers
I enjoy
hate it.
that. I know
Well,
the
I know-
drivers hate it
They
the drivers
hate the
hate it
restarts. I mean, but I get it, right?
because they're dangerous.
They are. I would say that's probably the most dangerous part of a race is the restart or is the start in general. You're real close. Everyone's picking up speed really quickly, you know. So I get it, but
yeah.
it does
Well,
make
then
for
people
great
get aggressive. Oh my God, but it's so entertaining, right?
Yes.
Okay, wait. I do want to say too, like during that red flag, there was a video of a marshal, like they were picking up the gravel. I don't know if you saw this, but there was a video of a marshal, like helping picking up the gravel, and he or she, I don't know who it was just kicking the gravel, like literally kicking rocks, like. And I'm like, that would 100% be me, like if I was like volunteering marshaling like during a race and something like that happened and they were like, okay, get out there, like pick up the gravel, I would literally be kicking the rocks like off the track, like because I'm like, I'm not picking up a brush, I'm not picking up a shovel, like
Well,
not it.
I feel like that's also a really good meme. Like,
Oh my God, it 100% is. Literally, I'm gonna have to find that and then I'll include that on our Instagram slides. Because I was dying laughing. I thought that was so funny. Okay, so after
we red
that,
flagged. And we had
yes,
a
red
restart.
flag, restart. I don't think there was any chaos after that restart. I'm trying to
There wasn't.
remember.
Okay, the restart has happened after Alex's car has
Right.
crashed into the wall, and
Right,
everything
and
is
that was
calm.
on
That was lap 7.
lap 7. And then George
Yeah,
DNFs. That was the
know.
next thing.
I know, which is crazy. So he was in what, 3rd, 4th?
Well, so at this point, like he lost some places because he had pitted, and then he was making his way back up. He was like, I think he was probably in like 5th or so.
That's what I was saying.
Like he had made some places back.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like it just is. This is what horrifies me when you're watching a race and like you see on the side little ticker thing all the drivers, and then somebody just starts like plummeting down the order, and you're like, oh no, what happened to this person?
And they're just like, and they say, and the announcers are like, oh no, he's dropping down, and you're just like, oh gosh, and like
What
they
happened?
usually don't even have that driver up on the screen yet, so all you're
No.
seeing is them like sliding
Just
down.
going down, yeah, because they're looking at something else. Well, so camera closes in on George, and his car is literally like on fire. Coming out of the back.
Like it was like spewing out of
Yeah, it looked like a little turbocharger, like fire
yeah.
thing coming out of the back, and I was like, oh no. Horrible day for him. Bad day.
I felt so bad because he was doing so good. He had a great
He was.
qualifying. He was racing really well. He got screwed with the safety car that turned into the red flag, and I don't know. I feel for him, you know?
I do. And then I felt like he had a really good attitude about that whole situation too, because even on the radio, like whenever the safety car that then turned into a red flag, and he was kind of in the car and they were like showing him, and he was on the radio talking to his team, and they were like, oh, you know, we're sorry, George. Like, we didn't think that was going to be red flagged. And he was like, no, it's okay, guys. Like, that was the right call to make. He's like, it's not your fault. Like, he's just like, I'm like, how can you not like him? He's such a nice guy.
No, I agree because I mean,
Right.
at some point in time, like you don't know. I mean, you're making the
You don't
best
know.
decision with all of the information that you know that second, right? And in that case, it's not like they did anything wrong because if it was a safety car, he was like everyone else would have probably maybe pitted, maybe not, but then they would have been on older tires, you know?
Right. Well, and even whenever they pitted George and they didn't pit Lewis was like mad about that. He was like, this has put me at a massive disadvantage, guys. Like, this is going to mess me up. And then it turned into a red flag and he was like silent.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he was out of the race. Obviously, his car was on fire. It was not a good situation. And then,
but that was not the second red flag.
No. So that
Because
was just a safety car.
Just a safety car because he perfectly pulled off
Yes.
right in front of the pit lane and they were able to extinguish
It was out of the
fire.
way. Yeah.
And then they just literally rolled him back.
Right
onto the
back.
pit lane.
Yeah. So that was good. But then one thing
And-
he said too. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, Sorry. I said, and the other thing is, even if there was a red flag, they wouldn't have been able to pit because they closed the pit lane because of where Russell was.
Because of where his car
Anyways.
was. Yes.
So
That's a
in
good
that-
point.
In that case, I wonder, like, you know how red flag, then you always have a restart? Would they have stopped everyone at the, like, where the start and finish line is?
I don't know.
We need editing, Alex.
Yeah, we need to know what the precedent is on that.
Yeah, like, because if the pit lane's completely closed, where is
Right.
everyone going to go?
Where do you go?
Mm-hmm.
And
it's not like they're going to, like, wheel all the little tires out all the way
No.
around.
No.
I don't know. It's a good
I
question.
don't know. That is a good question. We'll have to find out. Inquiring minds. No, so I thought he had a good quote though, like whenever he was out of the race and they were asking him, you know, what do you think? And he said, when it's not your day, it's not your day. Poor him.
Oh. But that's like a humble, like,
It is.
it's like, it is what it is. Like, we did our best.
Yeah,
I can't do,
you know,
like,
It wasn't my day. But anyway, so he was out. And then it was kind of like quiet. I mean, we had some, like, Checo had probably like a million overtakes. I don't even know. Like, he was
And, like,
just coming from the back.
And fabulous overtakes. Like,
Yeah.
Like, on a track that's kind of difficult to pass on, I mean, he was, like, all over
He
the
was
place,
making
just, like,
moves
Yeah. It was
all
crazy.
over it. Yeah.
If
just
I-
trying
if I
to
could
make his way
give-
back up.
If I could give a driver of the day, I think I would give it to him just for the amount of
Oh, and
moves
he
that he made.
Yeah, he did get driver of the day.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah,
'Cause I was
he
about to
did.
say, I was like, I mean,
He
come
definitely
on.
deserved it.
Yeah.
He definitely deserved it. Like, he was making all the moves, trying to get back up. But yeah, I mean, that was like, it was that. And then like Lando had some moves against like Nico. So it was kind of quiet, middle
gonna
of the
say, but-
race.
But McLaren really didn't do anything for me this year, or like this race.
No.
Again, they were just like bottom of the
They
pack.
were there.
If there wasn't so many DNFs, they
Right.
like probably wouldn't have been in the points. To be
No,
perfectly honest.
I don't think they would have been. And so that was like my notes that I had down for McLaren is they basically like stayed out of trouble and they were able to
Complete the
like
race.
gather all of the scraps from the rest of the people because yeah, I mean they were there, they stayed out of trouble and they just made it to the end.
Yeah.
And Lando finished 6th and Oscar finished 8th, which good for Oscar because it was his home race. These were his first points in F1. I think it was McLaren's first points like the
I
whole
was gonna
season.
say, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they've had
Yeah.
so many DNFs and just not great.
Right.
races,
Just
so.
issues. But yeah, so overall good for them at the end of the day. Just getting up there and scoring some points.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of under the radar. Okay, so then we had the second red flag whenever Magnussen clipped the wall.
I was so
I know.
mad about that. Like
I know.
I literally was like, I don't even know how he clipped that wall. Like it was so weird. Like, well, when I was watching it, like the screen was on Kevin, I think, but it was on him after the fact, right? So all you see is him like going down the
With the
road
one tire. Yeah.
with the one tire gone.
Well,
And
with the
you're
one tire gone. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're just like, wait, what? Like, what just happened? And then, like,
Right.
the announcer actually was like, oh, you know, like, he must have lost his tire because his tires were so worn, blah, blah, blah.
Which
And
would have
then,
made sense.
and it would have made sense. But then you watch the replay, he literally just clipped it, and the tire just, like, ripped off. It
Yeah.
was like a Lego piece flying off of a, you know?
No, it really was. It like just popped off and like flew off. Okay, so
Then it almost hit, who was behind him? I think it was
one of the Alfa Romeos. I can't remember which one.
Was it Alonso?
No, he wasn't back
No.
there. It was either Zhou or Bottas, but I can't remember. But you know what did? Like, so a piece of the debris hit somebody in the crowd.
No, I didn't know that.
Yes, so it hit somebody in the crowd because like they have all the fences up and everything, but like it's not like a mesh, like it's like a
Yeah.
chain link like fence. So something kind of either went over it or through it and hit this guy in the crowd. He was fine, but he did end up getting seen by the medic staff, and he had like a cut like on his like shoulder slash like upper arm, and he didn't get to keep the piece of debris, which I thought was sad. I know. It was like this poor guy gets like taken out at this race, and like you would think he would want like or at least have that to show for it. Like
Well, if I was him, I would take to social media and I would get Kevin to get him tickets to a race and like
to make up for it. I know. We need Gunther. Somebody.
Yeah, or like
Somebody
Gunther,
needs to make up for
sign
this.
something, go send it to him.
Oh,
So
I'm sure.
wanna say-
They should.
maybe the guy that got hit by the debris is listening to our podcast, and if that's the case, we strongly urge you to take to social media and get
Yes.
something out of that experience.
Justice for this guy. Literally.
Yeah,
He needs
Or
at
like,
least an autograph or something.
it's like an eye for an eye.
Yeah, I know. But okay, so after that happened, that caused the second red flag.
Yes.
Because they had to again bring that crane out, take his car off. So another restart, which is
Yeah,
the third
but also-
restart.
I was about to say, and also that was like lap 50.
Yeah, it was
50
late.
Like 51, 52.
I
and
think
it
it was-
like 58 laps.
Yeah. It was like, I think there was, because at that restart, they said there was going to be 2 more laps to decide the race. So it
Yeah.
must have been
Like
56 or something. 55 or 50. It was like really late. Because at that point, honestly, like as I'm watching this live, we were both like kind of falling asleep, my husband and I.
yeah.
And we're sitting there and like I was watching whatever, and he was literally like in and out of sleeping. And that happened and I was like, "Oh my God, more action. Like this is crazy." And then after that I was fully awake for the rest of this because it was
'Cause
wild.
This is like the good part. I
Yeah.
feel like.
It just got going. I mean,
Yeah.
it really did. But I
Okay,
feel like
so-
at that point like we had so much stuff already going on in this race.
Mm-hmm.
The most dramatic race ever.
Oh, 1,000%. Okay, so Kevin is out, right?
Right.
And
right,
now
right.
we had a red flag, so now we are doing the third restart.
Third
of the-
restart.
Third
Yes.
restart of the race. So,
Yes. This was absolute mayhem,
like, I don't
chaos. Never seen
I-
anything like this.
So, Alex, you and I were talking earlier about this. Like, this reminds me of literally Mario Kart. Like, this is
Yes.
like, the true definition of Mario Kart. Like, if you could make Mario Kart F1, what happens to come? You know?
No, literally, like what Courtney said, it was like someone just unleashed all of the turtle shells
Yes.
and like that bomb thing that's in Mario Kart, like all
And
at the same time.
All at the same time, and everyone's just like, it's like, dun, 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 dun. You know, and then it's like,
So true.
and everyone's going, right? And the turtles have been released. And then literally the turtle, this is my play-by-play. The turtles are just coming out, spinning everywhere they can go. And literally, it's just every man for themselves. Like,
Yeah.
trying to avoid the
Oh,
turtles.
100%.
But the problem is when you avoid a turtle, you're going to smash into somebody else. And then that
Right.
person smashes into somebody else. I literally think 4 or 5 cars got knocked out on that restart.
I think it was 5. I think it was 5.
Because it was both Alpines.
Mm-hmm.
They both got knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
Then didn't Stroll?
No, well, so he was able to keep on going, but he was
Okay.
in the gravel.
Okay.
Okay, so you had both Alpines. You had Nick DeVries,
Yes.
Logan,
Logan.
Sargent.
Yep. So that's 4.
Who's the other one? Hold on.
It might have only been 4, but still, that's a lot
No,
of cars
hold
to
on,
lose
there
on a
was-
restart.
Yeah. Oh, no, I think it was just 4. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the crazy thing about all of this, right? So all of this happens, right? And then Alonso is there, and he's like, "Well, wait, like like he couldn't get around anyone, and he was avoiding cars, and so he like dropped back in the order, and he was like, wait, like you can't just end the race like this, right?
No,
like, you have to
no.
stop."
So that was the crazy thing to me. Well, the funny thing for me too was Fernando's like reaction to all of this. So I think what really started all of the craziness was Sainz ran into Fernando.
Yes.
Knocked Fernando out. Like, but his car was still fine. But he like was backwards facing the wrong way. And so he had to get going. So then I think people started to see that, and then Logan ran into the back of Nick, pushed him out, and then Checo was like in the gravel trying to avoid all of this, but he didn't stop, kept on going. And then you had Gasly, like...
He didn't see, what's his name?
Esteban.
He didn't see Esteban, and he literally cut over and just smashed into Esteban.
Right. Yeah. So he was trying to avoid it, too. And so he kind of, like, made this weird turn and tried to come back on the track and ran right into Esty and knocked them both out. And then Lance did, like, after that whole everything was going on, Lance, I think, like... didn't stop or like what's it called? No, he locked up. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
He locked up into that next turn and like just kept on going straight into the gravel, but he was able to get it out. But so the funniest thing for me was whenever all of that was done and like all the chaos was like had happened and they had red flagged it, probably because really the main thing that the biggest crash was Gasly and Esteban. So to clean up their cars and all that debris.
Mangled.
Oh my gosh. Like they lost time. I mean, it was bad. That was a bad crash. And so Fernando gets on the radio and he was like, oh, Sainz hit me and whatever. And they were like, okay, well, it's been red flagged. And he was like, okay, so you need to check this. He's like, this happened at Silverstone, like last year with the crash. And he's like, we'll go back to he's like, since we haven't hit such and such, whatever, like we're going to go back to the original places. And he's just so like on it.
Well, yeah. But I think the rule is, and you'll have to double check me, I think they have to get out of the first sector.
That's right.
I believe. Yeah.
Right.
Or else it's like, they're not far enough in the race, so literally they can't establish race order.
Right.
Essentially.
Yeah, so I guess that's like the official like checkpoint or whatever is like each sector. And so if something happens before the first sector and they can't establish it, like you said, like they just have to go back to whatever the order was before.
Yeah, because Alonso was in third, I believe, at the time. Third at the time when the start happened, and then he dropped like all the way down to the very end.
Oh my god, he was like in last,
Yeah. So I think for him, he's like, oh no, like I am not about to give up everything that I worked so hard for, you know?
No. And then the engineers were like, oh, you know, like, is the car okay? And he's like, the car is fine. The car is fine. Check the rule. Like, he was like, I mean, maybe once he's done being an F1 driver, like, he should probably be like a lawyer or something. Like,
oh yeah.
Or like an FIA steward. Not a steward, but like something.
Yeah. And then the
a role person.
I know. And then I felt bad for Sainz because when they were in the red flag, right? So they're sitting literally in the pit lane and he finds out he has a 5-second penalty. And I think the 5-second penalty was because he ran into
into like, Fernando.
No, he was like, that's too harsh, blah, blah, blah. And I felt bad because, I mean,
it was harsh. That was harsh.
But, I mean, the end result of that wreck, I mean, I feel like the stewards had to do something. I mean, there's literally
which is true because I think,
out.
And he was really like the person that kind of set that all off. But to me, I look at it and I'm like, I feel like that 5 seconds is harsh, but at the same time, like other people took out other people during this race that didn't get 5-second penalties. And then
Yeah, but like,
it's
who?
a 5-second. See, I want to say Lance took out Charles, but
Yeah, but
after looking at it,
I think Charles made an aggressive move.
he made
And
an
I think
aggressive move, and it didn't pay off.
I didn't think Sainz made an aggressive move. I think Sainz just like, I don't know,
Yeah,
wasn't paying
there wasn't
attention.
anywhere for him to go.
Yeah, and so he just ran into, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and I think too they should have looked at the fact of like the person he did hit, Fernando, was able to still continue. But then to your original point, like 4 other cars
Yeah,
were
like,
taken out in the madness of all of this. So
I mean,
Yeah.
and it's driving unsafe,
it just
right? Like,
sucked.
I think,
Yeah.
I think the stewards are like, if we don't penalize him for running into somebody like that, like, then you can't do it in other situations. And there have been
Right.
times where like people have clipped each other and like they've taken 5-second penalties because of it. You know, it's just it's kind of like part of the safety. You know,
Yeah.
Be playing bumper cars.
Right. But that was literally, I mean, that was awful for him because obviously, like, with that 5-second penalty, you have to take it, they add it to your time at the end. And since this race ended up finishing under a safety car, that meant he was like, all the cars are bunched up together. So there's literally no 5 seconds. Like, so it dropped him straight to the back, to the bottom, finished last.
No,
Which actually Ferrari is disputing that.
are they
like,
pulling
still.
their card?
I think so.
What? Or
They're
no, but
they're pulling that. You're right.
no, but I wonder if it's kind of similar to what Aston Martin did with Alonso.
Right.
Where, like, remember, it was like Russell got third, Alonso got third, Russell,
Yeah.
and then, like, they ended up with Alonso. And if that's the case, I mean, if they really think that they are not in the wrong, then dispute it. I mean, what's the worst that happens?
No,
The FIA
I
says
was
no?
a little bit, I was a little bit, I would say, I don't know, disappointed or like a little bit shocked that they hadn't done anything, that they were just going to like accept that. And then that came out like a couple days ago that they were going to be disputing it. So almost like a week after the race took place, which is kind of interesting to me because I feel like in other sports, like you only have like a certain amount of time
Yeah, like,
to, like,
literally the challenge
say
is
something.
well, like in football, you have until the player snaps
So the next
the
play
football.
starts. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think that there is a time thing.
Well, that brings my question of, do you think that F1, each team should have like so many challenges a season
Yeah, I think they should.
that they can like,
To be able to challenge calls.
but then,
I think they absolutely should.
but anything outside of that, if you use all your challenges, then you can't go back. That
Right.
would be
Then
interesting.
that would be. I think they absolutely should. So another thing, which this is like not on the topic of Australia, but I think is very interesting. So this week, Felipe Massa came out and said that he wanted to challenge the results of a race from back in 2008.
I guess with Hamilton, right?
Yeah, so it was the race kind of surrounding the whole Crashgate situation where it was Renault and Fernando was on that team with Nelson Piquet Jr. And it came out after the fact that Nelson had crashed on purpose to allow Fernando to win that race, which then at the end of that season, Lewis went on to win the Drivers' Championship by 1 point, which Felipe Massa would have won it if Lewis had not, like, if they took away, because what really should have happened if the FIA and like F1 whatever knew that he crashed on purpose, they should have invalidated that race completely. And they didn't. And so the points that Lewis got from that race allowed him to beat Felipe Massa by 1 point for the season. And if they had taken that away, Felipe would have won that season by like 15 points or something.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So he's challenging that, and like I literally in like a court of law.
I wonder in what
like a
state,
legal
or
thing.
not what state, like what country.
I have no idea.
Like,
so that I think during this like break time period, like
Yeah.
we need to research that, and we need to do a full episode on that because I find that very interesting.
oh yeah, especially because I would like legally, where do you
Yeah.
like
Like
file the
who
lawsuit?
is exactly like who
what
is
country?
right.
Like the FIA is like, and who are you filing it against, Lewis or the FIA?
Yeah. Like who has jurisdiction? Who has
have no
jurisdiction
clue.
over this? I don't know
have no
either. We need
clue.
to know.
I know.
Okay, that'll be another episode.
For sure.
But
Okay.
but yeah, so
So
Ferrari is
wrapping
trying
up-
to dispute this.
Man, okay. So wrapping up Australia, because we're getting off topic. So what
Yes,
was the
sorry.
final? What was the final standings?
Okay, so obviously Max first place.
But Lewis ran a great race. by
He
the way.
did, and he got 2nd. And then we had Fernando in third, which Fernando has gotten third place every race this year so
And
far.
he's killing it,
He is.
in my opinion. I mean, Aston Martin.
He is.
Killing it.
He's killing it. Okay, talking about Aston Martin killing it, the stock for Aston Martin, like literally their stock price has
it's
gone
like probably through the roof.
through the
now.
roof. Oh, literally through the
crazy.
roof.
I'll have
And
to tell
it's
Austin about that.
oh my gosh, yeah, 100%. Like, let me pull it up right now to see how much it is. But I'm like, seriously, Fernando Alonso did that. He did that himself. Yeah, so that was the race. It was
Yeah.
wild and crazy.
And if you haven't watched the race yet, you need to go watch it because it was fabulous.
it was
well worth
great. Or at least watch that 30-minute little recap.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's nonstop action during that 30-minute
And,
recap.
even if you're not an F1 fan, it's worth the watch.
Oh my God,
Just
100%.
for that one race.
100%. I also do want to say, so this has not been looking good for Charles, right?
No.
But we have to remember last year, Max didn't finish Bahrain and he didn't finish Australia, and he went on to win the championship. Charles DNF'd Bahrain and he DNF'd in Australia. So
Could happen.
just saying. Just want to throw that out there. We're not giving up. We're not giving up
No.
hope.
Even if Ferrari was last, we would still. feel
No,
like
I would
there's a chance.
yes. I would still be like, you know what? No, it's the most iconic. It's the most revered. It's the best team that there is. So,
Yeah. No,
that's all we have to say about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, wait. Social news. I have some
Oh,
social
gosh.
news.
Okay. Give it to me.
Okay, so Lance Stroll might have a girlfriend because he's been single. So he's been single since about like I think it was like September of this past year. He had a girlfriend. Her name was Sarah. They broke up. So now he might be dating this girl. I'm on watch.
Okay.
Her name is Jessica Clark. She was at the race. She was in the Aston Martin garage. She posted pictures to her Instagram, like specifically congratulating Lance, which is like,
Kinda,
why wouldn't you, like if you're gonna be with Aston Martin, like you should be congratulating both of them.
Well,
Why are you
especially
just
since Alonso
congratulating
got
Lance?
third. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. percent So she was like, great job, Lance. And then Lance commented on this post with a red heart. So they're basically getting married.
Oh my gosh, I love how you like assume a red heart
I
means immediate marriage.
I jumped to conclusions literally so fast, but we're on watch. He might have a new girlfriend. Her name is Jessica Clark, and she is the like a co-founder for this company called Mother Made Mushrooms. And it is like a lot of like health supplements that are made out of mushrooms, not like psychedelic mushrooms,
just like regular ones,
just your regular like beach mushrooms, trumpet, whatever, which I will say mushrooms have a lot of really great health benefits, and not the psychedelic ones, which I'm sure are probably great too, but it's fine. Anyways. I would have to clip that. But no, so they're for like different health things. It's like a supplement deal. And so she's the co-founder of that company. But yeah, I mean, she was with them this past weekend. Wow. He's been liking like all of her posts. I don't know.
They're in the honeymoon phase.
I think we have a new wag on our hands here with that one. Just saying.
We'll see.
Oh, so I also saw that Carlos and Fernando are like not on good terms, and like they were not on good terms apparently before this like
ran
crash.
Into the back of them.
Yeah, like they were already not on good terms, which is interesting because Carlos says that Fernando is like his hero, and like, you know, he looked up to him so much as yeah, because they're both from Spain, and like that's his guy, right? And then Carlos's dad is actually like very close with Fernando, and they went and did rally card together whenever Fernando wasn't in F1 and all of that. But anyway, so apparently they've been on the outs, and then this crash just like is not helping that relationship, allegedly.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So there's that for your drama.
We'll see. So, okay, so in the coming weeks, we're off until almost the end of April.
Right.
Which we will have to bring some of Alex's crawfish boil.
Yeah.
Lights out and away we peel. That's what
Away we peel, yeah. That's my tagline.
Yeah. So have to bring some of that in. That's in that race is in Azerbaijan. There we go.
Azerbaijan.
Yes.
Yeah, so the race is April 30th, and it's a sprint race weekend.
Yes, so that will be
super
fun.
Excited for that.
First sprint race of the season. And I guess until then, tune in. We're going to try to have some like different fun, like not conspiracy theories, but informational F1.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I think we've got some history stories planned.
Yeah.
And then I think we need to do one on the Crashgate situation for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So
yeah.
Or if there's something anyone wants to hear about.
Yeah, definitely let us know. We're always open to options and different ideas.
Yeah. Yes. You can find us on YouTube, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you watch watch whatever your podcast and whatnot.
Yeah.
Also, check us out on Instagram, and you'll have to look out for Alex's fun post. Hopefully, she does a Mario Kart one.
I know. I need to work on that. I'll have that out for this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then also check us out on Twitter.
That's right. Twitter and Instagram at Queens of the Paddock. Yeah. And that is all.
Yeah. Wanna wrap this up, Alex?
Yeah. So thank you guys for listening. This has been Queens of the Paddock, an F1 podcast. My name is Alex.
And I'm Courtney. And lights out and away we go.
We'll see you next time.
Bow chicka wow wow.
Okay, now you're going to have to do that every time.
Why?
Because it was funny.